Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much indeed for turning up and particularly battling through the wintry weather and the transport chaos which has enveloped Britain over the past few days. It's my delight. I'm delighted to introduce two ministers here to talk about welfare reform and particularly in-work conditionality, Lord Freud and Mark Hoban. It's obviously a massive time for welfare reform. The biggest changes for 50 years are upon us, with the pilot of the universal credit beginning in April and rolling out in October. Obviously, with such large changes, many aspects of the welfare state will change, and it will take time for all of the policy to be tied down. This is a point that policy change has been pushing for some time now. In our work over the last 2 years, we've argued it's vital that we continue to assess how to improve the welfare system, both in terms of the benefit system and in terms of support we offer to people trying to find work and expectations we place on them. This won't stop when universal credit is rolled out, and this is a vital opportunity for us to test different policy ideas and options to see what works. So it's fantastic that two ministers are here to speak about some of the opportunities of welfare reform today. One of the biggest areas of opportunity to improve the welfare system, we think, is through support and conditionality placed on people in work. This is very much a new area for policy in the UK and will require new thinking to see what will help people to stay in work and begin to earn more, work more hours, and move away from the need to claim support from the state. So if we can hand over to Lord Freud, who's going to start to address the government's plans.
Thank you, David, and thank you for hosting this event today, and indeed for everyone for battling whatever demons of transport you had to battle today. I know that I came in on my bike as usual and lost my pedal, which was a non-seasonal event, but very depressing. Anyway, today we want to talk about what is in practice quite an exciting opportunity, a new opportunity, which is thrown up by the introduction of universal credit. And it's good to be in a room with people who actually think about these things and can see what the opportunities might be, and actually produce some of the insights that will be valuable, whether they're from the world of technology, the world of business, or even academia. Clearly, we've set a number of milestones in reforming the welfare system in the last couple of years, but 2013 is, I promise you, going to be a bumper year. We are starting off with the universal credit, with the Pathfinder in April before we go national in October. We're rolling out the personal independence payment from April. We're beginning the local council tax support schemes, and we're implementing from April the benefit cap. So that's a huge amount of change, and it is a change that is long overdue. And we're not just changing the systems here. What we've got to make sure is that the changes that we make actually change people's lives and change those lives for the better. What we have up to now, for those who are reliant on benefits and the welfare system, is a system that is really out of date and very considerably overburdened. We've got, as I think everyone in this room knows, but I'll repeat it for the record, so to speak, more than 30 different out-of-work payments within the tangle of benefits and tax credits. There's some pretty chaotic work supplements. We pay some of those at 16 hours, some of those at 24 hours, some of those at 30 hours. Each of those have got different rules and rates. Some of those are means tested, some of those are linked. Many of those are overlapping it is actually, I suspect the word Byzantine is overused. I'll use it, but I suspect we're being really unkind to the Byzantines. The worst thing about the system is that there's no clear perception that work pays. When a person finds a job, because they're moving from the out-of-work system into the in-work tax credit system, it's really almost impossible for them to calculate if they would be better off or not. Some of their benefits are withdrawn at 40% as they progress in work. Some are withdrawn at 65%. Some actually are withdrawn at 100%. Some of those withdrawals are made net. Some of those withdrawals are made gross. And it's a kind of complexity which really stops people's progress into work in its tracks, because they can't take that positive step for fear of losing out and losing out very considerably. There's a similar problem for those who are already in employment. They could work more, but they face a similar problem. They have no obligations within the system to increase their hours in work, and the system offers them no incentives to do so either. If you feed all those rates and disregards into a complicated computer system, which sometimes works, and I can assure you UC is on time and on budget and will be working. But if you feed in the rates and disregards into a system, you can find out what it means for income. No ordinary person can do this. You just must have a system. But it's very damaging when you do that analysis. People on low wages can lose up to 96 pence in every pound they earn as they increase their hours in work. And you all know what that means. You keep 4p out of every extra pound. So it may be incomprehensible in its detail, but its conclusion is pretty simple. And it's not worth, that conclusion for many people is that it is simply not worth taking the risk of working or not working more. As a result, employers tell us that people's working patterns cluster around the hours at which they start to receive tax credits, meaning that they can't move onwards and upwards. B&Q, a major national retailer, have even experienced people asking not to work more hours so that their benefits aren't affected, and that was just a particular conversation with B&Q, but I'm sure that is replicated, or we know that is replicated in company after company. It's clearly bad news for our growth and our productivity, but it's actually also a real waste of people's potential. So we now have a real opportunity to focus interventions on progression in work in a lot of ways, in particular in terms of upskilling, not just getting people into a job. We know that training provided by employers rather than by government is more beneficial to the individual, and if we combine a focus on skills and training for this group, the in-work claimant group, with reforms including the removal of the hours rule, that represents a most exciting opportunity. And I think it's a real opportunity in terms of this is the area where we are at a competitive disadvantage as a nation. We all know our high-level education is competitive, but where we are weak is that our medium-level education or the skills base compared with the no-skills base is, by comparison with some of our major competitors, weaker. So we have got here an opportunity to start rectifying that. The universal credit will replace all of the work-related benefits and tax credits with a single, simple payment. And it provides work allowances. We're moving away from the word disregards, because nobody understands them, to the expression work allowances now. Those work allowances are up to 12 times more generous than those in the existing system, meaning people who move into work will see the rewards before their benefit is tapered away. Once the taper starts, it'll be at a single constant rate, so that people will know exactly how much better off they'll be for every extra hour they work. This rate will be significantly lower than the current average, meaning that work will pay at each and every hour. 1.5 million people will keep more money as they increase their working hours, on average seeing an extra 14 pence in their pocket for every pound earned. Once fully rolled out, universal credit will, we estimate, see an extra up to 300,000 more people entering work, and between 1 and 2.5 million more hours will be worked by those already in employment. And that is just a factor. Those are just estimates based on financial incentives. As Mark will reveal in a couple of minutes, we are looking to build on these new incentives and looking to do more to encourage and support progression for those already in work. In steady state, we expect there to be 11 million individuals on universal credit, of which 5 million are expected to be in work. Unlike now, the majority of DWP's claimants will already have a job. And this is a radically new context for delivering benefits. And it's right that we think radically about what this means, including for our employment services and the contact we have with a new group of claimants relying on our support. So to tell you more, let's now move on to Mark.
David, thank you very much. And as David said, this year does mark the beginning of a radical overhaul of our welfare system. And the introduction of universal credits will make work pay at each and every hour, and allowing us to start dealing with once and for all a culture of entrenched worklessness and welfare dependency. 4.6 million people, that's 12% of the working age population, are on out-of-work benefits. 1 in 5 households have no one working, and 2 million children live in workless families, a higher proportion than almost any country in Europe. Now, this level of ingrained worklessness cannot simply be put down to the present state of the economy. It points towards the failings of a broken system. As David has explained, a system where people cannot move into or feel they can't progress in work for fear of losing out. And the government is taking vital steps to reform the welfare state, reducing complexity and restoring work incentives. And I think this will be a huge cultural shift for people claiming universal credit. But will also be a huge cultural shift in terms of the labour market and how the department works. So as we reach crucial milestones for delivering these changes, it's right that our employment services change to keep pace with what's happening with our benefit system. Now, even in an immensely tough economic climate, the latest labour market figures show it's possible to make progress. In recent months, we've seen more people and more women in work than ever before. Unemployment and youth unemployment are falling. There are over 470,000 vacancies at any one time, and more than 1 million new jobs being created in the private sector since the election. So whilst we're not complacent, we do not underestimate the scale of the challenge, but there are promising signs that the steps we are taking to tackle unemployment are having a positive effect. Now, I believe that Job Centre Plus does a fantastic job in helping people back to work. And over the course of the last 4 months, visiting job centres across the country, I've been struck by the motivation and commitment of our staff, and the headline results of their work are well known. Over 70% of people who claim job seekers allowance leave benefit within the first 6 months. The Job Centre Plus offer is closely targeted at helping this group, people claiming JSA who are either out of work entirely or working fewer than 16 hours. And the government has increased and broadened employment support, moving from a one-size-fits-all approach to one increasingly focused on removing barriers to individuals. From the work programme to the youth contract and the innovation fund, all this is about more tailored and more flexible support, harnessing the knowledge and expertise of those in the private sector and the voluntary sector, as well as Job Centre Plus. And we are doing this in order to give claimants the best prospects of getting a job. Now, under universal credit, the number of claimants subject to this intensive job search regime will be extended by up to 1 million, driven by increased take-up and a focus on each individual looking for work, rather than just the main claimant in the household. Now, as with JSA now, those who can work but are unemployed or working very few hours will be required to look for and be available for work, with fortnightly face-to-face signing. But for others, because universal credit reworks the boundary between out-of-work and in-work benefits, their responsibilities can no longer be set simply according to which benefit people are claiming. Instead, individuals face a set of responsibilities appropriate to their capability, circumstances, and work potential. Take self-employed claimants. The tax credit system as it stands allows people to exploit a hobby by claiming to be self-employed and top up their income through tax credits. They can earn nothing and subsidise their income through state support, without any expectation that they will increase their earnings and move towards self-sufficiency. This flies in the face of a principled welfare system. And under universal credit, we're closing the loophole. To stop individuals from underreporting their earnings or living off benefits whilst making little or nothing from self-employment, we'll expect people to earn a minimum level of income from self-employment when assessing their universal credit award. The system will also better support those entrepreneurs who are taking steps to earn a living from their own business. All newly self-employed claimants will receive a universal credit award based on their actual earnings, with appropriate conditionality, so they can devote their time and resources to developing their business, incentivising them to make it a success. Now, from 2014, we'll establish universal credit as a primary means of support for those who are in work as well as those out of work, replacing working tax credits altogether by the end of 2017. Now, until now, this group have had no work-related expectations placed on them at all. There's no encouragement for someone in low-pay work to increase their hours or their earnings. Once people move into some work, they are largely forgotten, with little or nothing in the way of labour market interventions to help them progress. Yet once universal credit is implemented, we estimate there could be around 1 million people who are working but who could do more. It's my belief that where they are able, those in the welfare system should be on a journey which helps them move from dependence to independence. On this basis, it's right that we consider how conditionality might help people move up the earning scales, reap the rewards from improved work incentives, and become more self-reliant. Now, this is groundbreaking territory, with a real scope to develop innovative solutions. Universal Job Match, for example, is already transforming the way claimants access our services, with online job searching through DWP on a scale never seen before. The system, which can already be used by people in work to find a better job or work more. And there's an exciting opportunity to develop this further. Automatic job matching means the system works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to find jobs that fit with people's skill set or could supplement their additional earnings. So their CV is working for them even whilst they sleep. A revolution from the old way of noting down notices and vacancies in the newspapers or coming into job centres and using job point machines. Universal Job Match also provides information on an individual's job search activity, including their CV and application history, enabling us to segment different claimant groups, in work as much as out of work, identifying those who are self-motivated to find work and those who are not. This, in turn, will revolutionise the way that JCP interacts with claimants, with scope to move much more of our contact online, especially valuable for those who are in work, but who we think could actually earn some more. Now, once universal credit is rolled out, we need to find ways to encourage people to move up that earning scale. So we've got some ideas of our own that we're going to look at. Part-time workers could receive monthly statements telling them how much better off they would be if they increased their hours. Or we could send them texts telling them how progressing in work would mean more money in their pocket. An online calculator would also enable claimants to find out how, within seconds, how much better off they would be from boosting those hours. I can tell you, having sat in a job centre looking at how long it takes our advisors to complete a better off working calculation for existing benefit claimants, seconds is a huge, huge improvement. Now, these are just some of the ideas that we're covering and considering, but I think there are more options out there. But as DWP moves increasingly towards digital by default, the rapid pace of technological change presents a real opportunity, both to radically alter the way in which we interact with people, but also to transform the services that we offer. Now, at present, across the globe, there are almost no examples of existing practice that shows what works in terms of supporting people in work, what works to help them to progress up that earning scale. Now, we know employers already use training very successfully to improve their employee skills and earnings and grow their business as a result. Behavioural economists and social psychologists are already expert in understanding people's behaviours and encouraging a positive response. So the question for us is this: how do we harness this knowledge, as well as that of others in the field, from think tanks, welfare to work providers, academics, charities, application designers, and those at the sharp end of delivering existing services? We need an opportunity and a forum to answer some challenging questions. How best can we support employed claimants to progress in work? How best can we work with employers to promote training, development, and progression opportunities? How best can we monitor and evaluate any new interventions, testing that they have the desired effect? So today, we're setting out a call for ideas. The more innovative and radical, the better. And what we want to do is work with you people in this room today to bring your ideas and answers to the table, to understand how we can work better with this new population of claimants, to encourage them to increase their hours, to take more responsibility for themselves, to move up the earning scale, and to tackle that entrenched culture of worklessness and poverty that we're seeking to achieve through the launch of universal credit. Thank you very much.